Madam Deputy Speaker, Honourable President, after an absence of 10 years in this House, I see that the more things change, the more they stay the same. In 2009, as the Leader of the Opposition, I called for a dedicated oversight committee of the Presidency. We have 9 such committees in the provinces, and the question is, why not here? In the past 2 months, I've heard the same chorus being sung by a new choir. When will the refrain be heard? Why is the Presidency so averse to direct, inclusive oversight? Is it because your office has become a bloated super department with multiple ministries and deputy ministries, as enumerated by former Judge Klope? Or is it because you just do not want to account to this House? I know that the past Parliament conducted a study tour in this regard to the British Houses of Parliament, and I've read the report. However, in using the Westminster model to reach its conclusions, it didn't compare apples with apples. The British Prime Minister faces weekly public scrutiny oversight in Prime Minister's question times. These questions relate only to the matters that the Prime Minister handles directly, which are relatively few, as many substantive matters are handled by the various ministers and their departments. In your case, Honourable President, this is considerably different. And what's more, the opportunities for MPs to ask you questions are severely limited to quarterly opportunities that are frankly sanitized due to the mechanical procedures and foregoing submission processes. In light of this and the fact that we are hearing your report for the first time today, we as Action SA reinforce that we should have an oversight committee of the Presidency. For example, Operation Vulindlela, that was conceptualized to coordinate the work of key priority departments and break down silos, whilst a noble idea, it has essentially become a dual civil service or a new government department with all the related costs, and it serves only to treat the symptoms of departmental dysfunction and not their cause. Listening to the new Deputy Minister of Energy and Electricity lamenting here today confirms this. Look at transport, where Vulindlela has specific focus. Our roads are being destroyed by trucks carrying rail freight on them because the rail network was allowed to be destroyed. Bulk freight rail for coal and manganese should never be allowed to be on our roads. And if it wasn't for the connected elite who are heavily invested in road freight transport, it wouldn't be allowed. This needs oversight. Manganese export management in Nelson Mandela Bay is parlous. It's destroying municipal and state infrastructure and compromising public health. The manganese terminal and fuel tankers at the Port Elizabeth Harbour should have been relocated to Kucha IDZ and the Port of Mocha years ago, but the deadlines keep moving. It's because these facilities are depreciated and thus much more profitable to continue using them, as new environmentally compliant facilities would drastically reduce profit. Your past presidency was defined by the establishment of multiple commissions, committees and projects. These require leadership, decision-making and action that have been conspicuous by their absence. This is yet another reason we need an oversight committee, as it can cut through impervious defensiveness, which reflects poorly on government and in fact gave rise to state capture in the 4th and 5th parliaments that you called the 9 wasted years. Now that there's a new political dispensation, hopefully the new voices in your coalition government and the noise from your erstwhile comrades now occupying the opposition benches will galvanize you into action and promote the kind of ethical leadership that South Africa so desperately deserves. Honourable President, we haven't had 118 days of no load shedding. There's a new euphemism. It's called load reduction. It means the same thing. I want to agree with Honourable Malema, who said that the Lily Mine matter and the Hammanskraal water matter has been appallingly handled. But what he's just done sounds like expropriation without compensation to me, because it's Action SA that has stood by those families of the Lily Mine tragedy, and it's an Action SA Deputy Mayor that will ensure that the people of Hammanskraal have water in their taps by the end of September. In conclusion, Mr. President, I remember that you came to Nelson Mandela Bay on the 25th of March. You said you had crime under control. What I remember about that day, you went to lunch at Brooks Hill Pavilion and your VIP protection convoy filled the parking lot. People are still dying in Nelson Mandela Bay. You do not have crime under control.
And I invite the Honourable Minister in the Presidency.
Madam Deputy Speaker, His Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, the Deputy President, Honorable Paul Mashatile, Deputy Ministers in the Presidency, Honorable Kenny Morolo, and Honorable Nongeba Mhlauli, Honorable Chief Whip, and Honorable Members. The period between 30 May 2024 and the early hours of Sunday, 30th June 2024, felt like South Africa was teleported to what the infamous British statesman Joseph Chamberlain described as living in most interesting times, in which our history was so full, in which day by day brought us new objects of interest and also new objects of anxiety, close quote. A period that required unquestionable patriotism and great leadership to ensure our democracy proves its maturity and for our country to continue to hold its own in the global arena. A period when class clowns also attempted to be actors, but we collectively breathed a sigh of relief when the heroes did not go off the stage. As we have witnessed in this house, the clowns came on, got the biggest, juiciest laughs, and then left the podium. The business of leading remained the responsibility of great men and women, because the African National Congress, under the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa and other reasonable South African political leaders, opted to make the prioritize the interests of South Africa. And for that, SA is still the great country of Nelson Mandela. Mr. President, rena re tswa Limpopo. Re a mo tsiba Moshabi. Ha ka thoma ya mutina, ho tshoro o ikhatile mosela. We have touched the core of the things. Honorable Malema will not spend time here and just deal with you and not focus on important issues. But it's because you were spot on. But let me remind you, honorable members, when I was sitting there, and even on Friday, the women, the elderly, and the poorest of the poor, who were members of Stokesfeld burial societies, were saying to me, who has the right to question the character of the president? If anyone else but not Honorable Julius Malema. Because it's not even the money they lost, it's the impact. They were not able to bury their dead with dignity. People of Vhembe wait only for 4 to 5 days before they bury their dead. The fact that they queued for 7 and 14 days before they could bury their dead, that's painful. Today, the elderly of Vhembe are suffering hypertension. Not because of anything else. We are dealing with chronic diseases of high blood pressure and sugar diabetes, because those elderly whose patients could not take their grandchildren to school are now suffering a generation of lost opportunities. Why? Because Honorable Malema and the EFF got money from VBS. Their party was actually registered by the proceeds of GCF. They've reminded me. They've reminded me again, honorable members.
Honourable Minister, please take your seat. There's a point of order. Please proceed, member.
Thanks, Speaker. I rise on a point of order because the Speaker on the platform is misleading the House and casting aspersions on honourable members and an entire political party. And I think that she is confusing the EFF for the SACP, for the ANC, for Denim Caesar, for Bladen Zimande. And I think she's really supposed to understand the rules. Withdraw with immediate effect and bring a substantive motion if she's got the balls. Thank you.
Honourable Ndlozi, it is the presiding officer's responsibility to make a ruling and not for a member to tell the presiding officer how to make the ruling. I will judge this. And Honourable Minister, yes, you did, in fact, cast aspersions on a member of this House, and we do know the rules that you then submit a substantive motion, so I will sustain that. But where it comes to a party, the rules indicate that you can actually say that about a party. It is only when it becomes the individual that you bring a substantive motion. So, Minister, I'm not going to ask you to withdraw, but to in fact come with a substantive motion, and you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The Terry Mutaung and the Shipua Matozis affidavit talk for themselves, and South Africans don't need another substantive motion. Honourable Deputy Speaker, it is the people and the women of Limpopo who reminded me that the first major report of former public protector of South Africa, Advocate Thuli Mazini, was on point and the Ratanang Family Foundation. And they said we must remind people that those who live in glass houses must remember not to throw stones. Ngachivenda bari shango alirari uradzamundi wao. Riribwa President Ramaphosa waradza Africa Chipembe. Therefore, Mr. President, the responsibility of the presidency as the department at the apex of the administration is to support you and the Deputy President as you lead the implementation of government's priorities as you articulated in the recent opening of Parliament address and earlier in the budget vote. Whether in the production of goods or in the delivery of services, coordination helps organizations to achieve high performance outcomes. We deem the South African government as an organization with its own dynamics. As such, the coordination role of the presidency will be more critical as the government completes the outstanding work of the 6th administration whilst bracing for the implementation of the 7th administration priorities. Let me assure you, Mr. President and the honorable members, that we are ready for continuity and change. For this period, 2024-2025 financial year, the presidency is allocated a budget of 612 million, which is a reduction in the baseline allocation by 40.7 million compared to 2023-2024 financial year. So that budget that is supposed to be big is not very big. Bearing in mind the financial constraints, we are determined to discharge our responsibility and mandate with commitment, resolve, and dedication to provide the necessary support to the President and his executive as per their mission. A defining feature in the coordination role of the presidency is ensuring government-wide high-quality data and evidence-based decision-making. To achieve this, there's a need to fast-track work already underway to professionalize the public service and prevent undue political interference in the administration of the state, to quote the opening address of the President. We therefore appreciate the 6th Parliament for passing the Public Service Amendment Bill and the Public Administration Amendment Bill. These bills mark a significant milestone in the ongoing efforts to enhance the professionalism, efficiency, and responsiveness of the public service and administration in South Africa. These two bills introduce provisions aimed at enhancing administrative powers, strengthening accountability mechanisms, and improving efficiency in the public service. These reforms align with President Ramaphosa's vision for a professional, efficient, and ethical public service, which is also one of the 3 priorities in the medium-term development plan of the Government of National Unity. The Public Service Amendment Bill proposes amendments to the Public Service Act to empower heads of departments with administrative powers, enhance the role of the Director General in the Presidency, clarify the role of the Public Service Commission, and provide clarity on the appointment and career incidents of heads of departments. Similarly, the Public Administration Management Amendment Bill seeks to harmonize critical aspects of the administration across all spheres of government. The bill also emphasizes the promotion of ethical standards for public servants by prohibiting those employees participating in procurement processes from being employed by those service providers who did business with their entities. The harmonization of critical aspects of the public administration across all spheres of government through the PAMA bill will also lend support to the local government reforms as will be coordinated through Operation Vulindlela. In this regard, will soon consolidate the progress report on the work of the eThekwini Presidential Working Group to reactivate its work and support the initiatives of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Government and the newly appointed Executive Mayor of eThekwini to work to turn around the Metro administration. We are confident that through the work of the Presidential Working Group, we should be able to develop a workable blueprint to assist other metros facing similar challenges as directed by His Excellency the President and the envisaged local government reforms. The local government reforms must also institutionalize the implementation of the district development model with its measurable and impactful one government, one plan approach. Stats SA has committed in the 2024-2025 work program to re-engineer the household survey program so that they can provide low-level data to inform the district development model. This is part of our responsibility to implement measures to ensure the communities have access to dependable and high-quality services. Last year, when I was tabling the Stats SA budget, I urged all of us to endeavor to use statistics for insight, what we refer to as data-driven decision-making, to avoid what the renowned poet, Scottish poet Andrew Lang once warned against. I quote, "Most people use statistics like a drunk man uses a lamppost, more for support than for illumination." I do not wish to take this house to the intentional misinterpretation of statistics on the success and weaknesses of the sixth administration that were done last Friday and earlier during this debate, when others designated themselves teachers teaching out exam fails with much drama, but I expected no less performance from one pursuing a master's degree in theater and performance. It's a pity it was just a wrong stage. However, allow me to explain the context of South Africa's employment situation. The year 2020, with its COVID-19 pandemic, brought with what no human being could have imagined or predicted. It changed the world as we knew it. COVID-19 shook down everything we had, including our economy and its jobs. According to the quarterly labor force survey of South Africa had 16.4 million people in employment in the first quarter of 2020. We lost 2.3 million jobs in the second quarter of that year, down to 14.1 million jobs. Overall, the South African economy receded to 2008 levels. It was the government, in partnership with business and labor and civil society, that developed and implemented the economic reconstruction and recovery plan that enabled us to build back the current employment numbers that have even surpassed the pre-COVID-19 levels. Currently, the number of employed persons in South Africa is sitting at 16.7 million, an increase of 2.5 million jobs from the low of 14.1 million during COVID-19 and the 16.4 million pre-COVID-19. In the first quarter of 2024, 9 of 11 industries showed higher employment levels than those recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic. Notably, the finance industry has the most significant recovery, with 680,000 more jobs compared to the second quarter of 2020. The community and social services sector, which includes government, increased by 547,000, and the trade sector followed with 525,000 more individuals employed than during the pandemic levels, while the transport sector saw an increase of 177,000 employed. Private households also saw an increase of 173,000 jobs, followed by 150,000 in manufacturing and 149,000 in construction compared to the second quarter of 2020. In addition, agriculture saw an increase of 142,000 jobs, while mining experienced an increase of 81,000 employed individuals than during the pandemic. Honorable Mantashe, if I knew you were a millionaire, I would have been your best friend since the sixth administration. But a pity you are not a very supportive friend who would have invited me to say what business made you millionaire during your NUM days. Because of the ANC's commitment to the eradication of poverty, unemployment, and poverty, President Ramaphosa developed the Presidential Employment Stimulus, a special program focused on coordinating government initiatives towards public and social employment creation. The overall performance of this initiative from 2020 until March 2024 continues to exceed the set targets, and the President has articulated the details in terms of those targets. Our largest program under the Presidential Employment Initiative is the Basic Education Employment Initiative, commonly known as the Teacher Assistant Program, which to date has created over 1 million opportunities for young people to be placed as assistants in schools across the country, becoming the largest youth employment program in South Africa's history and serving as a teacher replacement pipeline. And for that matter, Dr. Hlophe, basic education and the other social programs receive part of the largest budget allocation in the fiscus. It's only now that the debt repayment has overtaken that, but as you remain a member, you'll come to understand those things. The Social Employment Fund, another large-scale program, is aimed at supporting the social economy through the non-profit organizations and coordinated through the Industrial Development Corporation of the DTIC. The CEF supports the work of civil society organizations to create employment by building on the work they already do to enable community-driven solutions to local programs. This includes frail care, early childhood development, combating gender-based violence, community safety, and the creative industries, amongst others. The CEF has created more than 167,000 job opportunities against a target of 100,000. The other employment stimulus program include the subsistence farmer support through the Subsistence Producer Relief Program, Honorable Speaker, a revitalized National Youth Service, the Public Employment Program for metros, and the placement support for university graduates. Appreciating the opportunity that technology provides to bridge the gaps and the rate at which youth have develop and adopt technology, the PYE successfully established the SA Youth Mobi, and the President has given the details in terms of the people who have subscribed. Through the sayouth.mobi, job seekers can access the network to find opportunities, earn an income, and to stay engaged and connected. The Presidency, together with the development partners and other departments, will continue to provide strategic oversight and coordination of the presidential employment stimulus and the PYE and other public employment initiatives. Madam Speaker, we remain focused on the work of the National Logistics Crisis Committee to unlock the bottlenecks
Honourable
on our
Minister, please take your seat. There is a point of order. Yes, member, please proceed.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe that the Speaker is misleading the House. First, she said eThekwini has got executive mayor. Then she tells us about a country we know not of. I'm not sure which country she's talking about. She makes it seem there's no unemployment in this country and that there's no poverty in this country. So I'd like her to focus on South Africa. She's obviously living in a dream and talking about a country which we know nothing of.
Honourable
Thank you,
member,
Madam Deputy Speaker.
That is a matter of debate. And yes, I see another point, but I am still busy ruling, Honourable Michalakis. So the Minister is allowed to do that. You have also said that she is misleading. That is not unparliamentary. If you said she is intentionally misleading, that would have been a point of order. But Honourable Michalakis.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, I rise on point 78, which reads that every member desiring to speak must, if possible, stand while addressing the Chair. Madam Speaker, I have noted that many of the members of the opposition have been seated while addressing the Chair. I do think it detracts from the decorum of the House, and I would like your ruling in this regard, please.
Thank you, Honourable Michalakis. Yes, the convention is that we do stand when we do speak from the floor. However, I am also quite cognizant of the fact that sometimes you are then removed from the microphone and that you're not audible. So it will be up to the discretion of the presiding officer whether we allow sitting or not. Thank you. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
We remain focused on the work of the National Logistics Crisis Committee to unlock the bottlenecks in our ports, freight and rail, and ensure the full implementation of the National Logistics Roadmap with active and meaningful participation of all stakeholders to achieve the same levels of success of NECOM. We are cognizant of the magnitude of work at hand and the scarcity of resources. It is for this reason that we are not only reliant on the convening power of the President, but our firm belief in the importance of partnership for the pursuit of the country's shared goals and the business sense of using other people's money. But we are socialized to know that munwe muti out usimatutu. I'll tell you which committees does the state security respond to, what the DPME reports to, what the state SA respond to, because I think they've not done proper induction. Otherwise, we'll wait for Parliament to do reinduction. Thank you.